Hey guys, welcome back to According To. I'm Megan.
And I'm Ciera. And for this week's episode, Meg and I thought it'd be fun to talk about roommates. And I mean, our experience living with roommates is limited and not the true form of what it means to live with roommates.
We've argued we had
each other.
We've had the best experience probably that roommates
I'm
could
sure that it
possibly
cannot
have.
get better.
Basically today's like anything goes. We're going to talk about if people have roommate horror stories. We're going to talk about what things have worked well with you and your roommates. How do you try and divvy things up to make it so that like you're cohesively sharing the same space?
We can talk a little bit about like us being roommates, how we try to divvy things up, how we split rent, how we now split our mortgage.
Yeah.
All that stuff. So.
Okay.
So,
Spotlights, before we do that,
I feel like we've got some updates. Megan has some updates for you guys.
My weekly spotlight is that I actually met someone out in the wild. This was a first for me.
Did you see how many people thought your phrasing was weird?
Well, so many people were kind of like out in the wild. That's so funny. I'm like, I didn't come up with this. This is like common enough, I think, of like, I'm not the only one using this term.
Yeah. I saw more than a few comments that like specifically picked out like that phrase and like thought it was funny.
Haley thinks it's funny every time I say that too. Like, I understand it's like a newer terminology, but it's not that weird. With
I feel like it's
dating apps being like the other kind of like almost like new norm, like out in the wild, meeting people in person is like a little less likely.
Yeah.
It's more rare.
And like, I don't know, like another phrase to like quickly get the same point across. IRL. I don't know.
Yeah. So I probably shouldn't do a full like backstory. I did a whole 12-minute get ready with me TikTok of how I met this person. But long story short, last Friday the Iowa football game was going on. A friend and I went to a sports bar downtown, and that's how I met this person. They came up and started chatting, and then I did not leave with their number. They didn't ask for my number, but I found them on social media, and then I reached out, and then we went on a first date on Sunday, and we are now going to do another date later this week. So I'm keeping it pretty like, you guys are in the know, but like low info right now.
Yeah.
Because I think that's just best. But it was good. It was fun.
Go to her TikTok for a full
recap. It low-key like popped off. It has
did.
like 230,000 views.
A lot of views.
Yeah.
You need to keep going.
People. One thing girls love, because like I also gained like 500 followers from this video alone. Girlies want to follow along on a dating journey.
Yeah. They like seeing it work out for other people because it makes them hopeful that it'll work out for themselves.
I see some people are even in relationships and they're happily following along. So
yeah.
I also do know, I mean, this guy's aware of like my YouTube channel and my podcast. So like whether or not he would listen, I don't know. Cause like all I know is he brought it up before our first date, and he said like,
did he listen?
Let me figure out. This is how he worded what he said. So like, okay, 1 second. I have to pull it up.
I will say my boyfriend that I'm dating, he listened to our podcast. Like, I don't know if he listened before our first date, but like he listened while we were going on dates, and then he still listens now.
So here's what he said. This was like within like the first like 3 texts that we like sent back and forth. He said, I'd ask you a bunch of general info questions, but I'm too busy going through your podcast and YouTube library. And so...
And which YouTube library is he talking about?
Hopefully Megan and Ciera.
It'd be funny if he like saw like that YouTube channel. He's like, wow, that's pretty like good carryover like from like the 300,000 subscriber channel to like your Instagram ratio. Like that'd be a good ratio of
that
followers.
That would be an amazing ratio.
Little would he know, unless he's done more digging.
So I don't know what he did or did not look at before our first date. It was enough. It wasn't enough, or it was enough. I mean, hopefully he had overall positive
I always liked the like knowing that my boyfriend was like listening to stuff. I don't know if he watched or watches any of our YouTube videos, but he listens to the podcast. And I was like, I mean, yeah, this is my thoughts.
That's what I said on my get ready with me too, is I was kind of like, honestly.
So like if you're not interested, then you may leave.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's that. That's my update. That was kind of my.
That's a good spotlight.
Yeah.
It's like a fun little.
I don't have you much to share, you guys.
new thing that happened. And like, this is also, you just deleted your Hinge profile.
You're right. Yeah. That's kind of weird
So,
timing. This was all mentioned in my Get Ready With Me.
This was, Megan deleted her Hinge after the election. She was like, I give up.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, this is our first episode recording since the election and thus election results. And we are sad. But we're
in a better headspace now.
And then we meaning us collectively, you guys, we must all move forward and make the world as good of a place as it can be. Mm-hmm. Fight for the next one.
Okay, your spotlight, if you have one.
My spotlight was a date night that I had with my boyfriend on Friday. We did like a little like Disney sketch night. This little idea for if you guys need like date night or like girls night ideas. Disney Plus has this show called Sketchbook, and it shows you how to draw like some common characters. So we drew Simba, and then we drew the genie, and they were mediocre, but it was fun.
Okay, book update wise, how are we doing?
I started Throne of Glass. I'm like 100 pages in.
Are
I
you
feel like
feeling
I'm still
more. Okay.
I don't know. Here's the thing. I am recognizing two characters that I think I've heard of. And the thing with Throne of Glass is that I like don't know a lot about it, and I don't know why it's so hard for me to feel like as invested in the story as I do like get with some of those other romantasy books. Granted, this isn't like true romantasy because I know it takes a while for the series to like build into more romance, but I feel like I just don't fully know
like
what's
if
going
nothing
on.
else is going on, you want the romance plot.
Like
and
I'm
if
100 pages
that's
in,
not-
and basically like the extent is that like the main character has been like rescued from the mines that she was enslaved at and is being put into, it's not technically a trial, it's some sort of competition, but like with all of these fantasy books, I feel like it's like, oh, the trials of like, or whatever. That the trials haven't started yet. So that's all I got right now. I'm trying to like keep pushing and like get invested because I want to be invested. I know everyone who reads the series loves it, and I want to love it.
I am currently reading Daughter of the Moon Goddess, and I'm 130 pages in now. So I'm like maybe like a quarter of the way through the book. And it's taken me a little bit to get into it. Like I just haven't been reading it quite as much. I've been like getting just like doom scrolling on my phone. So that's been getting the best of me. But I'm slowly but surely kind of like doing a little bit bigger chunks here and there. I will say, like, finally 40 pages in, love interest reveals himself. The person I'm assuming is the love interest.
When I was reading Serpent and the Wings of Night, I don't even think it probably took that long to get the love interest introduced. I think I was just being so slow when I was reading. But
I'm like, what's the point?
Finally,
what
he was revealed, and I was
me.
like, I can continue. Like, I will keep reading.
So that was a breaking point of like, yes, okay, now I can like keep going onward. I'm gonna give like the best premise of this book. And I only am like going based off of what I've read now because I do not remember like the premise or summary just like on its own. But essentially, like the main character, and these names are Asian names, so I am like not even gonna attempt to try and pronounce them because I have like how I'm saying them in my head, but like who knows how they're actually pronounced. But the main female character, she is the daughter of the moon goddess, but she like her mom has been like trapped into like this immortal realm because she like drank this like immortal elixir from her husband, and so now she's like up in the moon, whatever. Like the fantasy land is like there's like people that like are up in like these cloud kingdoms, and I'm pretty sure there's like a mortal land below,
like Hercules.
And the mom of the main character is not supposed to have a daughter. So she's like been hidden away this whole time. It kind of like starts when she's like a teenager, I'm pretty sure. And then I was kind of half asleep during the beginning when I was reading this part, but one of like her mom's acquaintances or friends or whatever is like trying to travel with the female main character somewhere. And then in this like whirlwind of things, the daughter ends up like on the mortal realm, in that realm. And so then she is found by someone and brought to be like an attendant to like this like royal family. They're not royal, but like there's like this, they're like noble type, like a noble type of family. And then it kind of like, there's pretty like long chunks of time where it's like, oh, it'll like go a few months here. She's just been like living as like a servant essentially to like this woman, and then she's not being treated the best, but like she's getting along fine. It could be worse. And then there's like this small competition for the crown prince, or who's going to be the crown prince. He like wants a companion to study with him, and so there's like a bunch of people who like are competing for that spot, but he ends up meeting her, and she doesn't know he's the crown prince, and she's trying to like clean something. I'm like saying like the whole synopsis.
Yeah, you don't need to tell us what you read so far. A summary is all we need.
Basically, she ends up being the companion to the crown prince, and I'm at a point where I'm like, I'm just kind of like along for the journey of this book, and like I don't really know like what the point of this is all gonna be, but it's been fun. I'm getting more into it, so I'm like, okay. I should shut up, I think.
Yeah. So
what
basically,
am I talking
when I
about?
pick the book up, I'll just start where you left off, and then I'm caught up.
None of it was a spoiler though, so
okay. Any other book updates or otherwise?
We're doing our next book club is gonna be a Friendsgiving potluck, so that'll be fun. Okay, shall we talk about roommates?
Let's get into it. Meg and I can briefly, just giving our 2 cents of having been roommates for, in some way, shape, or form. We've lived together in the same room our whole lives. At our dad's house, we basically always shared a room through.
Should we end with horror stories, or should we start with that?
Maybe end. Actually, no. Let's start with it.
I'm like,
that's
gonna
be
probably like
more. We want to like really get all of them in if they're good. At our mom's house, we shared a room for a while, and then I think probably like late elementary school, and then from middle school on, we always had our own room at our mom's house. And then our dad's house, we basically always shared a room until like we came back from college and we had separate rooms. And then obviously college, freshman year, shared a dorm, lived together in our apartment for the rest of undergrad and then grad school. And now we still live together. Not in the same room, but in the same house.
We get more bang for our buck than having roommates.
So we have always, like, when it came to like splitting rent and stuff, our apartment was always 50-50 in terms of rent, even though I had like the I think our rooms were technically the same size, but I had a slightly bigger closet and bathroom.
Yours was like 1 foot bigger in like width or depth.
But I mean, this would be something I think you'd have to get more nitpicky with someone you were not related to, because Meg and I have always had like the underlying understanding that like we've always got our best interest.
I'm not trying to like,
you know what I mean?
Scam you out of your money.
Like, I think that when it comes to either friends or like people you're legitimately just roommates with, it has to be more like practical and saying like, basically like cost per square foot.
Yeah.
Almost. And like some people, I wouldn't be that picky, honestly. Like if you're splitting rooms and they're essentially the same size, I would just split it evenly. But like in our case, if we weren't related and we were just friends or just roommates, I could see it being fair for like me to have paid more rent, or like, because like we didn't care that much when it came to like who wants what room.
And it's also like, guess what? Like we kind of share the same-ish clothes. Our storage was like, okay, if we had storage, like we're using your closet. Like it
benefited both of us.
Right.
And then moving into this house, we still split our mortgage 50-50, even though Megan has the master bedroom and like her bathroom is connected. She has a bigger closet.
But it's also like Ciera kind of has like the guest bedroom closet. Your bathroom's like 3 feet away from your room.
Yeah. Like it just is not worth it enough to us to like make
a difference in payment.
Yeah.
And then in terms of like bills, we split all that 50-50. It's like some stuff is under my account, some stuff is under Ciera's account. We'll divvy things up so it's even at the end of the month. Grocery wise is kind of like the one thing where it's like
this would be probably different for you guys.
Just like we take turns and like it is what it is.
Mm-hmm. Like we don't break it down at the end of the month, say I spent this much on groceries and you spent this much, and then we split it down the middle and like make sure we're even. That
probably just comes from pure laziness.
It is laziness. It's also like the belief that like it does shake out down the line. Like we get roughly the same
eventually,
thing
yeah, it has
week.
To.
So I just kind of have faith that it shakes out.
Yeah.
That's about it for us. Cleaning wise, we split things 50-50. We try to clean together. I think we both are on the same wavelength enough where it's like it would be annoying to be roommates with someone who doesn't have like the same level of cleanliness as you.
That'd be, I think, going into like things that like do or don't work well for roommates. Like cleanliness has to be like probably the number one thing, because like I feel like that's what causes most roommate fights is like if someone's like leaving all their dishes in the sink and it's just like over and over and over again and like all their stuff is being left in the sink, and then like you're the one that's like caving because like you don't want all the dirty dishes in the sink, and then you're the one that ends up doing them, and then like you resent your roommate later because they're not doing it because the magic cleaning fairy comes and handles it all.
Yeah. That's something else that like I have to remind myself. And again, like I try to be mindful of this, but it's so easy to like when you live with someone to say like, oh, like I don't feel like doing this, maybe the other person will do it. Like when it's dishes, with it's like if it's trash, if it's whatever. And I try to be mindful and be like, okay, if it's not me, then it's Megan, and like why am I making Megan do something when I can do it right now?
And there's definitely like, I would say for the most part, we're like pretty 50-50 on stuff. And like, I would say like you just said, I have the same mindset of like, okay, I know that obviously this needs to get done because like one of us has to do it. But I also think like there's moments where like either of us slips and like you kind of have to be like, okay, I'm really kind of dropping the ball a little bit more on this, and like I
feel like
need
we
to
do a good job like of letting the other person know like when there's like that lapse in like you're kind of slacking here, like pick it up wherever. Like when I called you out about like when we like alternate in the mornings of like who's at home and who's working out. And then I told Megan, I was like, I would appreciate it if you would do the dishes like before you left in the morning, because I try to do that before I leave. And then you started doing it. And so like basically it was like I was coming home and like I would have to do the dishes because like I would be emptying my lunch thing out, and then I'd be like, now I have to do all these dishes. And it was like an annoyance that I was having. But I communicated and you picked up, and now it's not really an issue.
And then like, again, usually Sundays are like our reset days. So it's like, okay, it's not just like me cleaning and then like feeling like I'm the only one cleaning everything. It's like, okay, Sundays are shared, like, let's clean the whole main level. Like I'm doing this, you're doing this. And like, we just know the things that need to get done and what needs to be cleaned. We're doing laundry at the same time.
Get rough. And like, I feel like usually, luckily we're on the same page. It's like sometimes our Sunday resets can have like varying levels of.
Yeah. It's like, are we going like, are we going like super in depth, or are we kind of slacking?
If I'm being honest, I feel like we've been slacking like a little bit lately.
I feel like we've been busy.
Of our resets.
I feel like we've been busy.
Sure.
Last week we were traveling. This past weekend I was just tired.
That's fair.
You know?
My least favorite part about Sunday resets has to be cleaning the couch. And part of it is because now I feel like my green machine cleaner itself needs to get cleaned. Because now I don't even want to clean the couch because I feel like I'm cleaning out something that's dirty. So that's my issue that I need to figure out.
You buy a new one.
No. I just need to figure out how to clean it. But that's neither here nor there. Let's get...
Have we had any like... I'm like, what else roommate-wise do we have to share? Like, what all did you post? Tips, horror stories. Hold on.
Tips, horror stories.
How you delegate. We kind of talked about that. Rules.
You're going to do horror stories first?
Yes.
You want to start at the top or the bottom?
I'll start at the bottom.
Someone said, one time I walked in on my roommate eating my snacks from under my dorm bed. This is interesting because, like, we're best friends. We share
What's yours
everything.
Is mine.
Like, we do our own grocery shopping. But
the
like,
one thing I will say, and you saw this because you edited this vlog, this happened not that long ago, but I was a little bit taken aback. When we meal prep like a certain number of lunches, and in our unedited day in the life video, I was getting ready to go grab my lunch from the fridge. It was supposed to be my lunch because Ciera had eaten all of her lunches. This was my lunch. And I go to open the fridge. Not there. Ciera had taken it.
I must admit, that was
a
lapse in
and you're just like, yeah, I'm going to take it.
I was like getting ready because it's my morning to go work out. I was getting ready to work out, and
You're like, she'll figure it out.
I was like, I need to like leave right now to be able to like go work out. And I was like, we don't have anything else for lunch. And I feel like you have more options for lunch than I do by my work. Like, there's like nothing over there. I have to go to the gas station if I want anything to consume if I'm not bringing it. And I was like, you've got a Jimmy John's over there. Like, you've got your tropical smoothie or wherever you go, like you have options. And I was like, I don't have
stuff
options
from the vending machine.
Well,
But
that was my
anyways, usually that doesn't happen.
my reasoning. I would have gone to get Jimmy John's if I had one by me.
Usually we're not labeling stuff in the fridge. Sometimes, you know what we should do? We should label our ice creams in the fridge or in the freezer. Because that is one thing where it's like, we try to just have a system where it's like, you set it in like this designated spot in the
left
freezer,
side of the freezer.
and it's like never consistent.
Well, this only became an issue when you stole my flavor of ice cream. And now we have the same flavor that we eat. Never used to be an issue. Okay.
Anyways.
But as far as your thing about your roommate eating your snacks, I could never imagine like knowing if I was rooming with someone and like they had, this is their stuff and then like this is my stuff because we buy our own groceries. I could not imagine like just going into like someone's bin and like eating their snacks. So
Yeah, it's like,
I'd be taken aback as well.
I've got a couple in the bottom here saying my roommate's boyfriend was over all the time or every weekend and wouldn't leave, or like would use our laundry and would show up when she wasn't even home.
This is interesting about like relationship stuff, especially like
This is like something like
new for us
yeah.
because this is my first relationship. I mean, prior to entering a relationship and just like in general, I would say like you need to have a conversation with your roommates. I also feel like as long as their relationship is not disrupting you and your space, then like they live there. If they're in a relationship, then like it's expected that their significant other will be over. Mm-hmm. As long as they're respectful of like public and common spaces that you might also want to use, then I feel like that needs to be a conversation. But like if they're constantly like in your roommate's room, like it's her room, you know. I don't know if you've had any issues with like you haven't said anything to me. If you have any issues, my biggest thing is like always just trying to make sure Vegas is like my dog technically. And so, like, I try to be mindful of, like, making sure, like, if I were to go over to his place, like, you're okay watching Vegas if you have to or, like, whatever. Mm-hmm. And not feeling like I'm dumping Vegas on you for, like, watching him. Not that he's, like, that hard to watch, but...
No, he's pretty...
he's pretty chill.
He's okay to watch.
You have any thoughts on...
Sometimes 2 dogs here can be a little hectic. Because Ciera's boyfriend also has a dog.
I know.
So I have sometimes just decided to go hang out in my room. But I like my room, so I don't really care.
You don't ever
like I've got my
anymore.
Huh?
I was like, you never like go up to your room anymore. Well, like you do now, but like
yeah, I was like
you never like would go hang out up there.
I've got my reading chair and corner, and like I have a TV, so I can watch something. So
the 2 dogs is hectic, but they're getting better. I'm like, what am I supposed to do about it? Vegas is honestly the annoying one. He like bites her ankles and like bites her ears, and then she's like annoyed. He's working on it.
He's a young pup. He just wants to play.
But they settle down after a little bit, and then it's not quite so chaotic. But like when they first show up, it's like a madhouse. You gotta watch your feet. They'll step on him. Okay. I was like, is it my turn or your turn? I'm at the top. Roommate posts snarky things about me making any noise on a spam Insta that I follow. I would just like respond to it.
Yeah, like do you address it?
Do people still do spam Instagrams? I used to have one.
I used to have one. I honestly don't know if I've technically deleted it, but like it's been years since I've been on that thing. I would honestly like I'd be like I'm like breaking the fourth wall. Like
hello. You can say it to my face.
Yeah.
I do think like with roommates also like there's a certain level of like I feel like you also need to work out like schedules with your roommates of like when is it like waking hours versus resting hours or like quiet time versus, you know,
just to like be respectful of
do things. Cause like sometimes like maybe you have a roommate that like I would say like 6-7 o'clock for sure is like you're not making like noise and like being chaotic, but like you're up, you're moving around, you're getting ready. Like you don't have to be super quiet. And then like anything beyond like 8 o'clock is like you can turn the TV on, like, you know, it's daylight. Daylight hours going on. So if you had a roommate who like was someone who slept until noon, then like they might be annoyed, but it's like at that point get with the program. It's noon. It's daytime. You're going to hear noise. If someone could be out mowing their lawn, then I can turn my TV on.
Someone said, this has to be a random assignment roommate. Someone said, I came back to our dorm with a handwritten curse left on my bed and pics of cemeteries.
I would be
She's
requesting
witching you or what?
She's putting a curse on you. She's hexing you.
Weird.
That would be, I think, something where it's like you just have to, I mean, I'd maybe tell like my RA or something.
I'd be like, so this happened and like that makes me a little uncomfortable.
But then maybe like beyond that, you just like say, they're just like a different person than me. And like, I don't think we'll be friends. Someone said roommate's boyfriend, we already kind of talked about this, pretty much lives with us and walks around shirtless in the common area. I feel like at what point
This is
like a
it just
significant
kinda
other
becomes,
being
like, a
around often enough
personal-
would you need to like talk about like, well, you gonna start paying rent? Like you're eating
Yeah.
our groceries?
I feel like you definitely, because as a roommate, and like this is even more so like a boundary if you're not like related to your roommates, and like I think you need to respect your roommates' boundaries more. But like if you have a significant other or someone that you're dating, like in the picture, like your roommate did not agree to be roommates with your boyfriend or girlfriend as well. So like while I think most people can like be reasonable to like, you know, if they're having a sleepover, like if they're hanging out, like okay, fine. But like multiple days at a time and like,
Or, like,
never leaving and going home, or like if
switch
they're
places.
there, like if they're there when their roommate's not there, then it kind of feels like they're invading your space. And like if the person who's designated to live in that place, like they should not feel uncomfortable in their space is what it comes down to. So if there's anything that's impeding on that, then a discussion is warranted.
Yeah. And like if there's a relationship where it's like you're spending all your time at someone's apartment, then like clearly they're not getting their money's worth out of like their apartment or wherever they're staying. So maybe you guys at the next available lease end, you shall move in together.
Right.
And save everyone some trouble.
In college, I went home for Christmas, and when I returned, there were dishes everywhere. You couldn't see the counters, and they were piled up fully in the sink. This brings me back to bad memories just in...
At our dad's house?
No, in our dorm. Just like dishes in the dorm.
That's
That's
honestly-
already gross enough.
It's so disgusting.
And like this is different if like some stuff is like they have like a kitchenette or...
Genuinely, it's disgusting that in dorms we are just expected to wash our dishes in our sinks that have like obviously you're supposed to like, you know, throw your extra food in the trash and stuff and like get it as clean as you can if there's no garbage disposal, but like it's not perfect and like
It's not
it's
meant
so
to-
disgusting.
That's what
It's so disgusting. I don't
what
need
you
to say
say.
anymore. I was gonna say, because they said like dishes are like pile high, right?
Mm-hmm.
That reminds me of.
That's when like maybe disposable dishes are your guys' friend. Maybe.
Do you know what surprises me is like, you and I hardly ever use disposable dishes, and like luckily we
I kind of forget they're a thing. Like I just kind of
which like is good, I suppose. Like we're not being
wasteful.
unnecessarily wasteful, but like I'll see like some influencers like post like, oh, like here's the dinner and it's like on a paper plate, and I'm like, are you eating dinner on a paper plate? And I've just like been like, I just like don't even think about doing
Even
that.
when we're hosting, I am like I should get paper plates, and like I'm lucky I just like have stuff I forgot I have because I'm like running low, but like I should be getting more.
Yeah, it makes sense for hosting. But I remember going back to dishes when, like in middle school, high school, at our dad's house, our like stepmom and her kids, like
Our
stepmom and our ex step siblings, like they were notorious for always leaving their dishes in the sink, where it was impressive. Like it was like instead of open the dishwasher that's empty to like put stuff in that's like dirty, it's like you stack on, you have the full cereal bowl from this morning that you did not finish eating and you also did not dump out. And you just set it precariously on top of like 3 other dishes, and then like it's all
If you're
getting
gonna
full
leave
of water.
a dish in the sink, it best be washed out.
Oh, yes.
That's the bare minimum.
Like when Meg and I, because we're not perfect, we like leave stuff in the sink and that doesn't get taken care of until like that night or maybe the next day. We're not perfect, but we always will like rinse our dishes off or like throw stuff away to make sure it's not like totally disgusting. Some people, this is when people get a little too crazy for me. Some people will wash their dishes in the sink and then will put it in the dishwasher to like sanitize it. Or some people just use it as a drying rack. Good for you, if that's your prerogative. Me personally, if I don't have to wash
I've been
it,
trying to put any and
I
all
try not
things
to.
in the dishwasher.
Okay, next one I have is, this is from Haley. She said, OMG, I should share mine, but she'd probably sue me if she heard it. Haley has some pretty wild roommate stories that I will not say since she didn't share them. Someone said, I don't know, this person like put on like 3 different thoughts that I can't connect. So I'll see if I can come back to them later.
I've got, this was like a multi-part, but I've pieced it together now.
Okay.
Someone said, heard a rumbling noise in the room next to me, walked into her room and saw she had two huge pet rats. One day I was coming home after cheer practice.
That's the one I was just trying to figure
and
out.
the rat got out of the cage and was running around my room. She casually just picked it up and said, oh, he's so nice. I was always terrified and on alert after this. So gross.
That's wild that you didn't know she had a pet rat. She's lucky you didn't like kill that thing. Like, could you imagine? Granted, I couldn't kill a rat. I couldn't kill a rat either. But if I thought it was like a,
I just thought was this in the book that we read?
what?
What am I thinking of? What am I thinking of? You're talking about?
Is it from the book?
Yes. There's a part in The Boyfriend by Frida McFadden, which maybe you've read or not, but there's like this
They're like at
weird
a date
character
in this guy's apartment, and she's like, "Oh my god, there's a rat!" Or no, he's like, he caught a rat like had been running around his apartment. She's like, "Oh my god!" And he's like, "Oh, like I finally caught it." And he's like, "Here, you go sit down. Like I'll take care of it." And then she hears a loud bang, and he like, I don't know, comes out with it in like a paper bag or something. And then she's like, "What did you do?" And he's like, "I killed it.
I hit it with a hammer. That's what you
I hit it with a hammer."
And she's just like appalled.
She's like, "I didn't mean for you to do that." And he's like, "What
I
do you
didn't want me to kill
Run
it?
down 3 flights of stairs or however many stairs it was and set it free."
Anyways, that just brought me back. Okay. I think that is. Let me check the DMs quick and see. Oh gosh, we got some long ones. If you see or if you want to jump to a different category, feel free.
Okay. While Megan is looking for some other horror stories, I will run through some of your guys' tips for roommates. Someone said have ground rules that are not compromisable. I do think this is a good idea. If you can like day one, sit down with your roommates and like have an actual like typed out or written list of like your expectations for one another, then you have something tangible that you can go back to if someone were to like break your quote unquote like roommate code. And then hopefully you guys, like if you've all agreed to it, signed it, whatever, then like they are agreeable to then say, okay, I can see how what I'm doing is like breaking our initial roommate code. Maybe you can like rewrite it if needed after a while, but if you have those initial ground rules you all agreed on, then you have something to like actually turn and point to.
Okay, this is like a long one, and like the long story short is that this is someone who is like living with a couple, so bear with me because it's a long one. I live with a couple who have since gotten engaged and another guy, friend of ours. It was a great situation to start, for the most part still is. However, after the couple got engaged, the dynamic has shifted a lot and it's felt more and more like I'm renting a room from their home rather than sharing the space. To clarify, they got engaged before we renewed our lease for another year, so if they really wanted to move out and live just them together, they could have. But since they didn't, it feels as if they decided to live as if they own the place but gain the benefit of cheap rent since they're splitting it with 2 other roommates. They haven't done anything mean or wrong per se, and so I frequently feel bad for feeling upset inside. Maybe I'm overreacting, but in my perspective, they are very selfish, and I feel like I'm being used rather than feeling like a friend/roommate, for example. I've always talked about wanting a cat ever since we all lived together, and my guy friend never had an issue with it, but the couple said they don't like cats. I'm going to pause for a second. I don't want to say I'm not on your side, but I feel as though when the renewal situation came up, like you have just as much say in deciding what you do or don't want to do for your living situation in that moment. And if you felt like things were getting like weird with them now being like fully engaged and like they're just kind of going and acting more and more like this is their space, you could have either decided to move out, or you could have been like, you guys sure you want to stay living here another year? Like, no one was forcing you to renew your lease. So I do feel like saying that.
I also do feel like for pets in general, like even if you do own a space or live in a space and they allow pets, I do feel like it's courtesy to like let your roommate like have a say, and if they like are fine with that, because it's a lot to live with a pet, even if it's not your pet.
Okay. Okay, totally fine. I won't get one until someday down the line when I'm on my own. No big deal. Fast forward to post engagement, the couple immediately are getting a wiener dog puppy. Okay, that's not fair. They asked my other roommate and if I were okay with it, but I wasn't really much of a question because they had already planned out everything to get this dog. So if either of us said we weren't okay with it, I don't think that would have changed anything. I'd be like, well, I am now getting my cat. Fast forward again, the female and the couple quit her former job to take a new job that is fully remote. Seems totally fine, right? Well, she decided that she doesn't want to sit and work in her bedroom all day. Mind you, she has a master bedroom and a walk-in closet. Plenty of space, connected bathroom compared to the dorm-sized rooms my guy friend and I each have, and so she was turning the living room into her office space. I wanted to say to her, I also don't want to sit and be stuck in my bedroom though, but I don't have a backbone to avoid all the confrontation. Anyways, she always acts like it's fine if we use the living room, but to be honest, it's super awkward to sit in the couch directly across from her while she's working and taking calls. Also, her fiance acts like if my other roommate or I talk above a whisper, we are going to be a problem for her phone calls. I don't really see that being true, but if so, maybe that could be avoided if she worked in her own personal space rather than the living room. All to say that when I'm not in class, I'm a public health grad student getting ready for medical school this coming summer and fall. If I'm not at home or at work, I mostly exclusively spend time in my bedroom. Sorry, they said at school or at work. So yeah.
Not that you asked for advice, but if you wanted some advice, perhaps you could come to an agreement that like for like working from home, all calls need to be taken in like a closed door room. So like she has to go back to her room if she's on a call, or if you have a call, then you can go to your room.
And if that's too inconveniencing, then I feel like that's a good sign that like you should probably not be in a common space.
Because I do feel like if she's just working her computer, like I feel like she has a right to like be in the living room or be in the kitchen or wherever. As do you. Then it's just up to you if you feel like it's awkward that you're both sitting on your computer. Like it's whatever. It's a common space. That would be my suggestion. Okay, back to some tips and tricks. Someone said, make sure your values align and that you work together to maintain the home that you live in. I feel like this is in alignment with what we were saying about cleaning specifically. Making sure that you guys are on the same page. How often you're cleaning, how deep of a clean is clean to you. Some people were raised in different environments and have different ideas of like what it means to like clean a bathroom or like clean the kitchen. Some people don't clean as deeply than others.
Yeah. Cleanliness is like, it's the biggest thing. Like what people share, I feel like, for the roommate horror stories. That or like just like interpersonal relationship stuff with, you know.
Like with that last one that we read.
Right.
Luckily Megan and I were raised in the same household, so our cleaning standards are the same. Someone said navigating shared spaces when one is minimalist and one is definitely not. This is interesting because like as far as decorating and stuff, we have always had the benefit of like, yeah, we split who buys what, but like our vision has usually always been the same and been aligned for common spaces specifically. And then like we haven't had to like overcome style differences.
Right. And obviously like for a dorm and stuff, like an apartment too, even like that's kind of different in terms of like a dorm, especially like that's temporary. Okay. It's not the end of the world. If you have like, let's say your side of the room is however it is and the other side of the room is completely different, like who cares? But like if you're trying to do like some coordination or whatnot, Pinterest would be a great starting point. Maybe you like pin some things that you like. This is the style that you're interested in. Maybe they pin some things that they like, and you can kind of see.
I bet you could use AI
if
to
there's
like
some overlap.
merge your styles. I think best case is like start more basic, more neutral, and then like from there see if there's any areas where your styles align in terms of like how much color do you want to add, what kinds of colors do you want to add, what is like your style outside of like these basic colors and stuff. Is it like mid-century, is it modern? I don't know all of these design terms that I'm trying to now throw out, but see if you can like mesh them. And then I would still say, or still stick to like each having your own pieces that you're buying, so then like when it comes time to move out, like you know whose is whose, and you're not splitting stuff. Okay. Someone said if there is a problem, bring it up right away. Don't wait. It won't resolve itself. That's a good lesson that I think a lot of people don't learn, or they're like, they let it like simmer and steep, and then like after a while it just like all boils over. And then like all of a sudden your roommate is like, wow, I didn't know like this was such a big deal for you to like, you're blowing up at me for like not taking the trash out one time. And then like in your head you're saying, no, you never take the trash out. And so like I'm annoyed, and this is like the straw that broke the camel's back. So I do think the sooner you can resolve a problem, then like the less it weighs you down, and it also will hopefully save you from future anxiety. Is not the right word that I'm thinking of, like stress over the problem.
You're on the tips, right?
Yeah, whatever the second one is. Be honest about your lifestyle from day one, what annoys you, what boundaries you have, etc. I do think it'd be like good for, I don't think you have to have the same schedule as roommates, but I think it's helpful if you either have the same schedule or you're like accepting of their schedule, because some people, like, how often, if you're like younger especially, how often do you go out? How like late do you stay up? How much do you study?
Yeah.
What's your
like if you have similar
expectations?
lifestyles, you're automatically probably going to be more on the same page than otherwise. Like, 'cause otherwise you're probably going to be drawing like unnecessary resent towards this person, even though they're not technically doing anything wrong, but it's like clashing with what you're trying to do.
And like it could be as simple as like just you legitimately have two different lifestyles, and like let's say someone who's like, you're someone who studies all the time, and like maybe you have a hard major, and then like your roommate has an easy major and they like to go out all the time. They can do that. They have every right to do that. But like let's say you're home studying at 10 p.m. and you're like, my roommate's going out again. Like I'm a little bit jealous, and like I'm annoyed that they have more freedom to do that than I am allowing for myself. And then you're building unnecessary resentment towards something that is out of your control. So it's either something you need to then self-reflect on, or maybe find a roommate who would better fit your lifestyle.
I'm on task delegation and chores or rent stuff. So, chore chart if it's multiple roommates and rotate jobs every week. I'm kind of someone like, at least for the both of us, we just do like a little bit of everything, or like whoever gets to it first. So it's like we have our set tasks that need to get done every time we clean during the week. And sometimes you do the floor, sometimes I do the floor, sometimes I do it 2 weeks in a row. You know, whatever.
I do the couch every time.
Vegas is the one making it dirty.
I know. I don't like cleaning the couch. And it's my couch, so it's like I can't even.
Okay, someone said we use an app called TriCount, and it helps with sharing expenses. Never heard of that. This is interesting. Could you discuss how you would split rent with a long-term partner on a much higher/lower income? My last relationship ended because of issues around this. This is interesting. And like, it's a personal question that I haven't even had to like figure out what I would expect to happen. So I'm really speaking this just like thinking through it. But Ciera and I make like a pretty similar income. We both split 50-50, and that's been fine. Like, neither of us have had an issue with this. In terms of like thinking down the line, when I am like living with my partner, I kind of view it in a couple different ways. I feel like one way you could go about it is let's say I am making less than the person I'm dating. I have like a certain amount that I would say like I feel comfortable paying this in mortgage or rent. So if you are also okay with paying that, even if you make more, we could do 50-50 if I'm still in like a range that I'm comfortable with. And then guess what? You're not spending as much money on rent and mortgage. So like that's a bonus for you. But if it was something that I was already maybe going to pay regardless, then like I don't really feel like it's like me being taken advantage of. If this person that I'm dating is making more money and they want to live in a nicer place, then I certainly think it warrants a conversation of
You have to
like,
pay
okay, then you have to pay a larger
overture.
percentage. And maybe it becomes like just like a set, you decide who's going to pay what. Maybe it's you pay a percentage of based off of like your income. I don't know. But I do think at that point, then it would warrant like a conversation. And then like vice versa, if I were to be the one making more, you know, I'd kind of be like, well, what do you feel comfortable paying? And then if I'm looking at stuff and I'm like, I don't really want to like, one of these apartments is not going to do it for me, then I'd probably have to pay more.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. We
It's
think
like
it's fair. We just came up with it.
It's a balance of like lifestyle expectations for yourself and for your partner of like what place you're willing to live in.
I don't think it's fair though for you to say, I expect to live in this nice place and I'm not going to be able to pay for it.
Yeah. So like I think that you need to both agree on like what is your minimum like level of lifestyle that you're willing to live in, and then what is your maximum payment that you're willing to pay. Is there anywhere you guys can meet in the middle to make it 50-50, or like will one of you need to give a little to get a little? Would be my take as well. I can go through some like the rules and stuff while you're still looking through that. Someone said guests can sleep over once or twice a week. Anything more makes you feel uncomfy. I feel like that's a fair rule. Because then it's like, okay, it's a guest and you're not like living here. Mm-hmm. You still get like that designated space throughout the week that you don't feel like you're not welcome in your own home.
Last, like, there's quite a few people, like, rule-wise or just delegating rent. They said base it off the bedroom size. So that was a common one.
This I thought was interesting. Someone said for, like, college freshmen, organize room by the end of the day, clean room by the end of the week. I kind of like that rule.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, pick up your clothes off the floor, put things away, like tidy up a little bit so that when you go to bed, you're like, things are more or less where they need to be. And then like say, okay, now we have our weekly cleaning things where it's like, we actually need to like make sure the space is clean.
Someone said lights out, quiet hours, letting you know when guests are coming over, stuff like that.
Someone said must wash the frying pan after cooking fish. That's fair. No more foster cats.
All roommates are responsible for doing their own dishes. Yes. Don't leave your dishes out. No one wants your dirty dishes.
Quiet hours is a big one in some of the rules as well. No boys can be in the house if the roommate they are seeing is not home. That's like one that you said earlier.
I mean, it's just like, why are you here?
Yeah. Who are you here for? Get out.
This isn't your place. This is not your house. This is not your apartment.
Okay. I think that's all of the responses that I see that are not repeating. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Well, I think that kind of does it for this week's episode, you guys.
Hopefully you enjoyed. If you have any like roommate stuff that you want to share and you didn't get your voice heard in this episode, if you're watching a YouTube video, you can leave a comment. If you are listening, you can go to our Instagram @according_to and comment on our episode post. I feel like our Instagram's been kind of good lately. We've revamped it a little bit.
Yeah. Otherwise, we'll talk to you guys next Thursday.
Bye.
Bye.